Welcome to PIMCO Pod. In this episode, we explore Fed Chair Powell's annual Jackson Hole speech, where he assessed the post-pandemic U.S. economy and suggested rate cuts are coming soon. Stay tuned after the conclusion of the podcast for additional important information. Powell on Fed Policy Moves. The Time Has Come by Richard Clarida. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, in his remarks Friday morning at the Jackson Hole Symposium, signaled that interest rate cuts are coming. Specifically, he stated that the time has come for policy to adjust. The minutes of the Fed's July meeting, released 2 days prior, offered a similar hint at policy easing soon to come. The base case is likely a 25 basis point cut in September. Powell's speech offered a familiar rationale for commencing rate cuts with U.S. inflation still running at 2-point-something%, somewhat above the Fed's 2% target. Namely, he indicated that the Fed is confident that sufficient progress on disinflation has been achieved and is expected to continue. Thus, with the U.S. labor market having returned to better balance, the Fed, with its dual mandate, stable prices and maximum employment, does not seek or welcome further cooling in labor market conditions. In other words, the Powell Fed is aiming to stick that historically rare soft landing, in which high interest rates reduce inflation, but don't cause a recession that triggers a steep rise in unemployment. Powell devoted much of his speech to a concise and balanced review of the causes of the post-pandemic surge in global inflation, which peaked in 2022, and its subsequent slowing. Perhaps the speech is intended to be read, at least by future economic historians, as the third installment, along with his Jackson Hole remarks in 2021 and 2022, of Powell's real-time oral history of the conduction of monetary policy in this unusual and volatile era. Signals, not specifics. Absent from Powell's speech was any specific discussion of the destination for the federal funds rate at the end of this easing cycle, or the pace of rate cuts along the way. Instead, the remarks indicated, drawing on oft-used language from Fed statements, that the timing and pace of rate cuts will depend on incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. That said, we believe the time has come language makes clear that the Fed will cut rates by at least 25 BPS at its September meeting, and that it will signal via its dot plot projections that at least 2 more cuts of 25 BPS are expected at the remaining 2 meetings this year in November and December. Although the Fed likes to say it is data and not data point dependent, the August employment report released on 6th of September will likely be significant in the 25 versus 50 discussion at the next meeting. The details are yet to come into focus, but for the Fed, the direction of travel seems clear. Thank you for listening. That was Powell on Fed Policy Moves. The time has come. For future insights, please follow us on your favorite podcast platform. The discussion and content provided within this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and may not be appropriate for all investors. Reliance upon information provided in a podcast is at the sole responsibility of the listener. The information included herein is not based on any particularized financial situation or need, and it is not intended to be and should not be construed as a forecast, research, investment advice, or a recommendation for any specific PIMCO or other security, strategy, product, or service. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. All investments contain risk and may lose value. Investors should speak to their financial advisors regarding the investment mix that may be right for them based on their financial situation and investment objective. Podcasts may involve discussions with non-PIMCO personnel, and such content contain the current opinions of the speaker, but not necessarily those of PIMCO. Other podcasts may consist of audio recording of an existing PIMCO article, and such material contains the current opinions of the manager. The opinions expressed in all podcasts are subject to change without notice. Information contained herein has been obtained from sources believed to be reliable but not guaranteed. PIMCO, as a general matter, provides services to qualified institutions, financial intermediaries, and institutional investors. This is not an offer to any person in any jurisdiction where unlawful or unauthorized. For additional important information, go to www.pimco.com/gbl/en/general/legal-pages/podcast-disclosures.